Canada has just almost seemingly changed overnight due to the fact that Palestine has gained a new recognition within the UN. Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird temporarily is recalling ambassadors from Canada that are, diplomats that are in Israel, the West Bank, in UN missions in New York and Geneva. They've all been called back in because he says, we want to sit down and try to understand our new role or the changes that have now been taken place because of Palestine's new recognition under the UN. However, they do also go on to say that they strongly oppose the decision of Palestine getting some kind of recognition whatsoever, showing really what this conservative government is all about. Conservatism. Now, Baird said that Canada only supports a negotiated settlement between Israel and Palestine. This is not unlike what Hillary Clinton actually said at the UN and what the Israeli representative said as well, that the UN is the wrong place for something like this and it must take place as an agreement between the country that's recognized as a country and the one that's murdered on a daily basis, meaning Palestinians are expected to use a measure that would not be able to achieve what it is that they're trying to achieve. Now, there are whispers that there could be retaliatory measures to this vote, that because Palestine did go to a legitimate international body, plead their case, and win, Canada might be considering punishing them as a result, including cutting off aid for doing what is essentially the right thing. The Harper government has repeatedly said that while it supports a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a Palestinian statehood should be a byproduct of peace negotiations, not imposed by the United Nations. Now, this obviously is farcical, given that a peace between them being a byproduct of negotiations is just not going to happen. Israel holds all of the cards, holds all of the power, and can do whatever it is they want, while Palestine can do, well, relatively nothing whatsoever, even to defend themselves from attacks that are launched against them. Now, this action by the Harper government has changed our traditional role as Canadians. Traditionally, we stood as peacekeepers, neutral peacekeepers. We went in to keep the peace while the proper government regulatory body, like the UN, went in and dealt with the situation. Now, this has completely changed. Now we've become, or at least according to our government, we've become militantly anti-Palestinian, which is odd because our point was to keep the peace while the UN dealt with situations like this. Now they're saying that the UN shouldn't be doing this, even though traditionally that's what it's always done, and that we've assisted it by being peacekeepers, which doesn't seem to actually make much sense to me. This seems to be kind of an about-face, a childish about-face, because something that we supposedly don't want, or to be more specific, the conservative government, and being that it's a puppet of the United States, doesn't want to happen. I mean, it's childish. You're doing what we don't want you to do, so we're not going to participate anymore. It seems relatively along the lines of that. Now, Palestine needs to go through this regulatory body. It has to. There's literally no other way for them to get by because, well, they just get murdered and raped by Israel on a daily basis. They can't even defend themselves, let alone enter into negotiations. You enter into negotiations with someone that you are killing on a daily basis. That's not a negotiation. You're essentially just laughing at them. That's not a negotiation in any way, shape, or form that I can even possibly think of. But here's the irony, aside from our losing our traditional status. The UN's job is to regulate things like this, to act as mediators and make decisions along these lines. Israel is a member of the UN, and they wanted to be a part of the UN just for this, to get the protections that go along with it. And by doing that, they agreed to go along with the rulings of the UN as well. Palestine, not a member of the UN, trying to become a member of the UN, goes to the UN to have this kind of thing dealt with. And then Israel, the one who's already agreed to go along with the rulings as being a member of the UN, says that the UN essentially doesn't have the right to make that ruling, even though they have given it to them by being a part of the UN. This is more of the Israel's, we support a peaceful solution, yet continue to murder people. We think Palestine should have a right to exist, but keep destroying it and bulldozing it and building Israeli settlements on it. Just something to think about. And more to show the fact, to show how much Canada has actually changed since the Harper regime actually came into power and has changed everything, almost everything, that we know about Canada and everything we used to be.